I want you to stop and close your eyes for a moment. Imagine you're standing on ancient Roman stones where emperors once walked, beneath iron lattice that pierced the sky when the world was still gaslit, in a city that decided, quite boldly, that beauty wasn't optional, it was essential. Today, we're unraveling Paris. Not the postcard version, but the layered, contradictory, utterly intoxicating reality of it. From the secret apartments, to the forgotten bones, to the mysterious woman France has adopted as its own. Before Paris was Paris, it was Lutetia, a muddy Roman settlement on an island in the Seine. The Romans, practical creatures that they were, built their baths and their forums here around 52 BC. But unlike Rome, which announced itself with marble, Lutetia whispered. It grew slowly, organically, like a vine finding purchase in stone. The city's Roman bones are still here if you know where to look. Beneath the Pantheon, that magnificent domed temple where France buries its immortals, there are Roman stones. The street patterns in the Latin Quarter follow Roman logic. Even the name Paris comes from the Parisii, the Celtic tribe the Romans conquered. The city has always been a palimpsest, one story written over another. Paris can be surprisingly selective about its legends. Voltaire, Rousseau, Victor Hugo, and Marie Curie, the titans of French thought, are all buried here in the Pantheon. But guess who's not? Coco Chanel. Despite all her revolutionary Parisian chic, she rests in Switzerland. Let's talk about the Louvre for a moment. Everyone knows it as a museum, the glass pyramid, Mona Lisa, and tourists photographing tourists. But originally, it was a fortress. Built in the 12th century to defend against Viking raids, it was all brutal stone and strategic moats. You can still see parts of the medieval foundation in the basement. The transformation from military stronghold to palace to museum is very French, taking something designed for war and insisting it serve beauty instead. Now, here's where it gets delightfully peculiar. Leonardo da Vinci, yes, that Leonardo is buried here. Well, almost here, at the Château d'Amboise in the Loire Valley, but his connection to France is profound. Francois I invited him to France in 1516, and Leonardo spent his final years here, bringing with him a certain painting of a woman with an enigmatic smile. The Mona Lisa never left. She became French by adoption, much like the city's countless artists and dreamers. But if you want a truly hidden Parisian secret, look no further than the apartment tucked inside the Eiffel Tower. Gustave Eiffel built himself a private area at the top of his iron monument. While all of Paris gawked at his tower, some called it monstrous. He was feeling rather smug about the whole thing. He was up there conducting experiments and entertaining guests like Thomas Edison.
Montmartre rises above the city like a bohemian crown, and at its summit sits Sacré-Cœur, that wedding cake of a basilica. Its origins are darker than its travertine facade suggests. After France's humiliating defeat in the Franco-Prussian War and the bloodshed of the Paris Commune in 1871, Catholic France wanted penance, atonement, a physical prayer in stone. They chose the highest point in Paris, strategic, symbolic, and impossible to ignore. Construction began in 1875, funded entirely by public subscription, but it wasn't completed until 1914. It's become a controversial monument epitomizing the nation's hope and guilt at the same time. If you're enjoying discovering these hidden layers of Paris, consider hitting the like or subscribe button.
The Pont d'Arts and the Lovelock Bridge. For years, couples attached padlocks to its railings and threw the keys into the Seine, believing their love was thereby made eternal. Romantic? Certainly. Structurally sound? Less so. The bridge nearly collapsed under the weight of all that affection, about 45 tons of locks. In 2015, Paris removed them all. Love, it turns out, needed less hardware and more maintenance. But here's what most people miss. The neighborhood surrounding that bridge, the area near the Pantheon, is the true intellectual heart of Paris. The Sorbonne, the botanical gardens, bookshops that have been selling ideas since the Enlightenment. This is where Sartre and Beauvoir argued in cafes, where students still debate philosophy at 2 a.m., and where knowledge accumulates like the sediment at the bottom of the Seine. Speaking of bookshops, Delamain, founded in 1906, holds the title of oldest bookstore in Paris, still operating in its original location. It's tiny, precise, obsessively curated, specializing in art, fashion, and photography. The kind of place where you could go in for one book and emerge 2 hours later having had a conversation about Proust with a stranger. Very Parisian, very French, and very necessary. The Arc de Triomphe stands at the center of 12 radiating avenues, a stone compass rose of Napoleonic ambition. Napoleon commissioned it in 1806 after his victory at Austerlitz, imagining his armies marching through in triumph. There is just one ironic detail. He never saw it completed. He was long dead and defeated when it was finally finished in 1836. Even more ironic is that despite being commissioned by one of France's most famous soldiers, beneath the arc burns the eternal flame, honoring the unknown soldier. Every evening at 6:30 p.m., a ceremony rekindles it. It has burned continuously since 1923, through wars, occupations, and revolutions. Some flames, it seems, refuse to die. And while we're on the subject of death, did you know that Paris has no stop signs? Not one. Traffic flows seamlessly through an intricate ballet of priority to the right rules and roundabouts. It's terrifying and oddly beautiful, like the city itself decided that stopping was antithetical to its nature. Forward motion is the only rule.
Galeries Lafayette, one of Europe's largest department stores, isn't just about shopping, though you could spend a fortune there. It's about the building itself, that stained glass dome, the Art Nouveau ironwork, the sheer theatrical excess of it all. It opened in 1912 and immediately established that in Paris, even capitalism should be beautiful. You can take the elevator to the rooftop terrace for free and see the entire city spread before you like a banquet. For those who prefer their treasures pre-loved and slightly dusty, there's the Marché aux Puces de Saint-Ouen, the famous flea market at the northern edge of the city. It's been operating since the 19th century, a sprawling maze of antiques, vintage couture, curiosities, and outright junk. The dealers are characters straight from a novel, suspicious, knowledgeable, charming when they want to be. You can find Belle Époque jewelry, mid-century furniture, or a taxidermied peacock. Don't ask why. Just accept it. But if shopping above ground isn't macabre enough for you, let's go beneath. The catacombs of Paris, those famous tunnels lined with artfully arranged human bones, started as something far more mundane. A stone quarry. For centuries, Parisians mined limestone from beneath their own feet to build the city above. The tunnels grew, unstable and forgotten. Then, in the late 18th century, Paris had a problem: overflowing cemeteries. The solution? Move the bones underground. 6 million skeletons now rest in those carefully stacked walls. It's uniquely Parisian in its refusal to hide the uncomfortable.
Paris is an all-stone and memory. The Bois de Vincennes, on the eastern edge of the city, is a sprawling park, the largest in Paris, and home to the Zoo de Paris. The zoo itself has a complicated history. Opened in 1934, it fell into disrepair, then it was completely renovated and reopened in 2014 with a focus on conservation and animal welfare. Now it's a place where Parisians bring their children to see giraffes and penguins, where joggers circle the lake at dawn, where the city remembers it needs green lungs to breathe. The Bois de Vincennes also contains the Château de Vincennes, a genuine medieval fortress complete with a keep and a moat. It's where French kings hid when Paris got too political, too crowded. Just too much. Even monarchs need an escape hatch from time to time. There's something about Paris that requires these pockets of wildness: the Luxembourg Gardens, the Tuileries, and the Bois de Boulogne. As if the city knows that all this beauty and history and architectural ambition need to be balanced with dirt and trees, with the messy insistence of living things.
If you want to understand how Paris sees itself, or rather how it wants to be seen, go to the Musée d'Orsay. Housed in a Belle Époque railway station, it's dedicated to Impressionist and post-Impressionist masterworks: Monet's water lilies, Renoir's dancing couples, Degas' ballerinas. These painters looked at Paris and saw light, dappled, fleeting, golden. They painted the city not as it was, but as it felt. The museum itself is a conversion story. The Gare d'Orsay railway station opened in 1900 for the World's Fair, then became obsolete as trains modernized. Rather than demolish it, Paris transformed it into a museum in 1986. Again, that insistence on preservation, on layering new meaning onto old structures. Nothing in Paris is truly discarded. It's just waiting for its next act. And while we're on the subject of transportation, the Charles de Gaulle Airport sits in Roissy en France, about 25 kilometers northeast of Paris. It's your likely entry point into this world, that moment when you step off a plane and realize you're breathing French air. The airport itself is brutalist, functional, occasionally baffling. A reminder that even Paris has to deal with practicalities. But knowing what awaits in the city is worth every terminal transfer.
They call Paris the City of Light, and most people assume it's because of the street lamps, the way the Seine reflects the sky at dusk, and the golden glow of the Eiffel Tower at night. But the nickname actually comes from the Enlightenment, that 18th century flowering of reason, science, and philosophy that Paris championed. The light was intellectual, not just literal. Though, to be fair, Paris is quite literally luminous. It was one of the first cities to adopt gas street lighting, then electric lights. The city has always understood that darkness hides things, and Paris prefers to be seen. It's been accumulating stories for over 2,000 years. Roman ruins beneath your feet, secret apartments in iron towers, bones arranged like art. A city that refuses to have stop signs because stopping implies an ending. From Lutetia to the Love Walk Bridge, from sacred heights to subterranean secrets, Paris isn't a destination you finish. It's a conversation you keep having, each visit revealing another layer, another contradiction, another reason to return. If you'd like to explore more cities on this channel, be sure to click the subscribe button and leave a comment below sharing what surprised you most about Paris. Until next time.